You're listening to Success Stalkers Radio, episode 28 with Dr. Felicia Scott.
Hey everybody, this is Ian Floyd from the Love and Sensibility Podcast, and you're tuned into my girl Ioana Garrett on the Success Stalkers Radio Show.
Welcome to Success Stalkers Radio. I am your host, Ioana Garrett. People all over the globe are rewriting the rules to success. They're making money and changing the world. Join me Monday through Friday as I interview today's top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and entertainers that will leave you inspired to take action and achieve success on purpose. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Okay, Success Stalkers, let's get started. I am your host, Ioana Garrett, and this is another episode of Success Stalkers Radio. I am simply thrilled and excited to introduce my guest today, Dr. Felicia J. Scott. Dr. Scott, are you ready to stalk some success today?
I am so ready, Ioana. I am so ready.
Outstanding. Well, Dr. Felicia Scott is an educator, an entrepreneur, and a woman on a mission to let others know that faith is an action word and that whatever you can conceive, you can achieve. Dr. Scott is an accomplished university administrator, having served over 15 years in student services administration at a major research institution in the state of Texas. She was recognized at the state and national level for her commitment and dedication to student success. As one who has often been called a risk taker, she took a leap of faith and left the university to pursue her entrepreneurial efforts in direct sales. Dr. Scott has managed to rise to the top 2% of her sales force by utilizing her gift to mentor and coach others, and has been recognized at the national and corporate levels for her excellence. Bounce back ability is Dr. Scott's middle name, and through her personal and professional efforts, she wants to live a life of faith in action and share with others that obstacles can break you or build you, and she chooses to build. So, Dr. Scott, I've given our listeners just a little overview about you, so we want you to tell us about you personally because we want to get to know you, and then give us an overview of your business.
Okay, fantastic. Well, and again, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited about this, and even just from when I heard the name of the show, Success Stalkers, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, so awesome. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I'm just a simple person. I grew up as a child of with a military father, and so we traveled around quite a bit when I was young. And moved back to San Antonio, Texas, where my dad retired, and I finished middle school and high school, left there, went off to college, and then began pursuing my positions in student affairs, which was really kind of an interesting story in and of itself because I went to school for one thing, as many people do, and found myself in a position of not really liking my degree program. So I switched to a major that was totally out of character for what people thought about who I was and what I was, but it was probably the best thing going because it really prepared me to do the work that I did at the university, as well as now what I'm doing in my entrepreneurial efforts. And so I am a mom. I have two teens that are now 16 and 14, and it's kind of scary because my 16-year-old is driving now, so that's a little crazy. I'm a widow, and so I've been down that journey and on that journey still. And so, I'm just me, and I love connecting with genuine people. I love the fact that I can engage with folks, and particularly women. That seems to be my passion group that I enjoy working with. And so however I can connect with women who are on a mission, I love that. In my current business, I am still a Salesforce a leader with Mary Kay Cosmetics. I've been with Mary Kay now 10 years. And I am also developing my speaking portfolio and platform. And so I am beauty and beyond, and the beyond just means that, it's more than just what you see on the outside. It's talking about how do you show up and connect that inner and outer beauty and create a situation and opportunities where you can win. You can win in business, you can win in life, and you can win in the community. So that's who I am.
Outstanding, outstanding. Well, Dr. Scott, we're going to dive way deeper into your journey in just a few minutes. But before we do, we always like to start Success Talkers Radio off with a success quote to really get that motivational ball rolling. So take it away.
Okay. Well, when I thought about that, really my mantra, if you will, has been impact and influence. I've kind of made that my personal mission statement, and so through my personal endeavors, the connections that I make, and my professional opportunities that I seek to really positively impact and influence those who are around me. And it's my hope and desire that when a person has encountered me and I've encountered them, that we both leave that experience lifted, and that we feel like that there's been a difference there. So I really feel that whole piece of being a difference maker is what drives me, even when a so-called sale does not happen. But if I have an experience, an encounter where I'm impacting and influencing positively, that's my mantra.
And so you're building a team, right, with the company that you're currently with? Is Mary
That
Kay,
is correct. So I do have a team of about 80 or so plus women around the country, and I'm telling you, I look back at that, even just that piece of the journey, and the friendships and the sisterhood that we have built over these years. And people come in to my space for a season. Sometimes we always know there's a reason, but sometimes it's just a season. But every encounter that I have had, again, the impact and influence has been phenomenal. Not only, I hope, from my life to theirs, but from theirs to mine.
Oh, mm-hmm. I'm sure, and I'm sure you're passing down that servant leadership, and down through your team, because that's what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Because truly, when you are in business, not even about business, but just life in general, it is about serving. It's about what the other person needs, and that's actually one of the founding values for the company that I'm with Mary Kay, is that it's not about you. I mean, I remember reading the book Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren, and there are a lot of things that I can remember out of the book, but the one thing that constantly stands out with me, I even remember the chapter. It was chapter 3, and it said, "It's not about you. It's not about you." And so in life and in business, if we can keep that in the forefront, we can only go up, even through the trials and tribulations, just knowing in the back of our head, it's not about me. It's not about me.
Absolutely. That's definitely one of my mantras. It's not about you. It's not about, when I say you, but I mean me. And that's one of the reasons why I love what we're doing here, at Success Talkers Radio, is because it is not about us. It is about, the people that are listening to this show, and that's why we constantly strive to bring value each day to our listeners, to serve them in a way that's a little different from most traditional ways, where they can tune in, when they're, maybe working out or going for a walk or just on a commute to work or a commute back home. They can, pop us in or just, pull up their iPhone and just listen to us and get inspired, and motivated to just take action, in their lives. And we are doing our part here, by serving.
Exactly. I believe you are. I really do believe you are, because I believe you're connecting, and even our opportunity to connect was, I think, an ordained moment. And so I definitely believe you are on a mission.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm excited about the journey.
Absolutely.
Which leads me to my next question.
Okay, I'm ready.
Which leads me to my next question. Good deal. Okay, so we are all about journeys and stories here at Success Talkers Radio. That is why we want you on our show. We brought you here so you can tell us about your
Yes,
journey because people get inspired when they hear other people's
yes.
journeys. So, I know you've had an amazing journey, but we want to focus on, just first for a moment, a possible failure or a possible challenge that you may have experienced in your life when, maybe you either fell flat on your face or your back or just a challenge that really took you to another place. If you care to share that with us, and then if you can, tell us about a lesson that you possibly learned from
Okay,
that
okay.
particular challenge.
I have to pick one because I won't say there's been many, but there's some that stand out. But I think what I want to share because it really becomes a story of persistence and dedication. And I know many of your listeners may be in school or going back to school, to improve themselves, get another degree, a certification, or what have you. And so the failure that I wanted to initially talk about, or the opportunity, if you will, was when I was going through my doctoral process. That was probably the process. Actually, going through the classes and all that was not an issue. It was the end piece of actually getting to the point where I could defend, and you'll know why this is important for a minute, because I got all the way up to the point of defending, and when you get to that point, that's in higher ed land, when you're at the point of defending your dissertation, that's where that is pretty much a done deal, right? And so going through some challenges with that particular committee at the time, and got to the defense, and they said, my chair says, well, we don't believe you're ready. And there was a whole lot of things that led up to that and subsequent things that came after that. But at that moment, that was, in my mind, a complete fail. It was an epic fail. It was an epic fail.
Yeah.
And it was an epic fail not only academically, professionally, but emotionally, the emotional toil. And I hope your listeners can pick up on this, because in life and in business, you are going to have those epic fails. The key thing then becomes, how do you handle it? How do you respond? You may not be able to change the situation, but you can change how you respond to it. So instead of acting on my initial response, which was to get physical, and I'm not many people don't know me, but I'm not a physical person, but that was the initial thing, to get physical and whatever. But first reaction. But you know what? I took a step back and I said, okay, what, Felicia, is this, how important is this to you and for you? And I regrouped and I persisted. And so it took about another 6 months to 6 to 8 months to make it come to fruition, but it did. And so from that lesson learned was, first of all, know why you're doing what you're doing, whether it's educationally, in business, your own business, starting something. Know why you're doing it, because when the challenges come and when the naysayers come, if you are not firm in who you are and whose you are, you will become a doormat. And so it was important for me to surround myself with people who could affirm me and build me up in my own mind, versus what I saw was a tearing down of my character, my professionalism, and all that. And so the lessons of persistence, the lessons of knowing why you're doing what you're doing, and the lessons of keep at it, because if God gave you the vision, He'll give you the provision. And your timing may not be His timing. I had to learn that, but it will come to pass.
You're so right about that, and I'm sure you've learned you learned probably how to turn that failure into success for yourself
Absolutely.
because, you know, failure is always linked to success. You know, failure really is success in my
I
book
agree. I
because
agree. I think sometimes we think we have, if we fail, that's a problem. But you know, if you look at what's that quote that talks about, how many times Michael Jordan, shot basketballs, or how many times Edison, tried to invent a light bulb or what have you. And nobody. Here's the thing: nobody cares what happened up until that point, but the fact they won't remember it. Put it that way: they won't remember it, but they will remember that you got it done. So yes, absolutely,
the result, absolutely. Well, you know, because when you talk about failure, some people don't really want to say failure, and I understand what they probably mean by that, but failure is not always a bad
Yeah,
thing. You
yeah.
know,
No, I agree. I mean, sometimes, again, I think it's Iona, how we respond to it, because sometimes we bring some things on ourselves because we haven't properly prepared. Other times
right?
it's circumstantial, and that's okay. But that's where mentorship and coaching and all those things come into play, because there's always going to be somebody that has walked in your shoes. They maybe not been your specific journey, but there will be someone who can bring you kind of bring you light and bring you back into a positive situation.
Right. It's all about how you respond
Exactly.
to it,
Exactly.
definitely. Definitely. Well, Dr. Scott, we're going to go forward and transition to that other end of the spectrum, which is what we call here at Success Talkers Radio the aha moment. Because we want, to learn about that particular time when you had an aha moment. Because, as an entrepreneur, we have them all
Yes.
the time.
Yes. 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 Yes.
I mean, all the time. So, and I know you've had some lessons that, of course, that you learned from failures, but if you can share one of your aha
Okay.
moments that has helped you to become successful today.
I'm going to share, and if I have time, I'll do two. But one, this aha moment, if you will, it may initially sound like a failure, but it really wasn't, because it created that light bulb opportunity, and that's when I made the transition from basically employee to entrepreneur. I think my mindset has always been entrepreneurial, just because when I look back at even the different positions that I had, and jobs and things like that I had the opportunity to participate in, I was always in that entrepreneurial role of the creating, the visionary, the doing, that piece, and so it was interesting when I got to the point of deciding to leave the university. Many things had been occurring at the university. I had been there for, quite a few years, 16 years, and things had been changing. And so the aha moment for me was when we had some new leadership that came in, and there was clearly an agenda, but I knew, and this is where the aha moment came, I knew instinctively that I was not a part of that agenda. And so the aha came in was, okay, do you want to continue to stay in a situation where literally someone would have to retire or die to be considered for a promotion, or do you want to step out on faith? And that transition piece was hard, because we've been taught, at least in my generation was taught, you go to school, you get an education, you get a good job, and they'll take care of you. You go to school, you get a good, and so that mind shift that goes on in your head of having the so-called comforts of a job, it was like, okay, light bulb, this is not even in higher ed, this is not reality, so what are you going to do? And so that created the transitional experience for me to be able to safely, in my mind, transition from the university to full-time entrepreneurship. The second aha, real quickly, was about 6 months after I left the university. My husband actually passed away unexpectedly.
Oh, wow. So sorry to hear
so there was that other, and so that was that other aha. Had many, but that was the other aha in terms of, yes, that was confirmation that I had heard God's voice to actually leave the university. I was thinking it was for something else, but in reality, because He knows, He knows all of our steps.
Right.
He's ordered our steps. He knows what's happening. That was the real reason that I had to leave the university, so that I had that time with my husband, even though I knew it was, I didn't know he was going to pass. It was totally unexpected, but that was, so I had that aha, like, oh, okay, you did the right thing. That was what you were supposed
it was. Absolutely.
to do. Yeah. And then probably the third aha was at that moment when he passed, was to make a decision. Do I go back into familiar, higher ed, because it had only been 6 months, or do I stay in faith with my business? And I stayed in faith with my business, and so as I look back, now, 10 years, I'm like, aha, this is why, this is why, so I could be with my children, I could be, and they're healthy, happy, and whole, and I thank God for that, but it's all because I listened to His voice.
So beautiful. Such a beautiful story. I love how, God can, turn those things that we see sometimes as just the worst thing in our lives sometimes, that He can just turn it into those triumphs for us, and it's just awesome.
Yes, and so I'll say this, it may sound crass, but so I kind of have a low tolerance for when people say they can't, and I understand the fear factor. I really do, because I went through that. But I also know and understand that if we don't do it for ourselves, and if we don't step out on faith, and I mean step on faith, not just say we have faith, because faith is not activated until something happens.
Yes, absolutely. Right.
So, we can say we got faith all day long, but when we push the faith button, you got to be prepared. You got to be prepared for some things. Yes.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Scott, let's shift here for just a minute, because I want to shine the spotlight on you, okay? I want you to share with us one of your proudest entrepreneurial moments.
Oh, wow. For me, I think one of those moments was when I actually achieved the top 2% level of the company.
That's huge.
Yes, because that said to me, even though it's a position, but what it said to me was that I was actually living out my mission of impacting and influencing others positively. So that for me was like priceless. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
I can imagine.
And then secondly, I would say, and this is recently because I've been moving into creating more of a speaking platform and looking at how I can take my gifts and talents and use my business as a vehicle to enlarge my platform of empowering women, creating a new mantra, if you will, that will, in my head, I just get excited about this mantra of being beauty and beyond. That's my mantra.
I love
beauty
that.
And beyond. And looking at how to connect with women on ways that I can't even imagine creating yet, but knowing that in business and in life and in community, we're going to help women win. And that's exciting for me at this moment in my juncture with my current business.
That's awesome. I want to go back for just a minute, because you said that, I know that you reached the top 2%, in your company in Mary Kay, without taking a whole lot of time. But can you just elaborate a little bit about that? How did you do that?
Okay. Well, what that basically means is company gives you an opportunity to move into leadership with the company, and by doing that, you're sharing the business opportunity with women or men. We do have men that are in Mary Kay, so you're sharing the business opportunity with them, and they're actually becoming independent beauty consultants on your team. And so as a director, minimally, you have 24 people that you have worked with over the course of a 4-month period to become an independent sales director. So, yeah, so that's what that means.
Okay, so obviously you built a team in order
Yes.
to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because I wanted to just kind of stop for a minute because that's pretty huge. I mean, the top 2% in your company and all of Mary Kay, that is huge. That says a lot about you, lady.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And, it's one of those things where you look and you say, wow, this is awesome. Even though, I'm shooting for the next level where I'd be in the top 1% of the company or what have you.
Absolutely.
But
you're going to get there. You'll definitely do it.
Yeah, but it's neat because it's you taking your gifts and your talents and matching those with others and seeing. I really get excited when I see someone who gets it, and they use this business to change their future. And I think that's one of the most awesome things about direct sales, not just, Mary Kay, but direct sales in general. It is a way to really financially impact your household, on a part-time basis and create a scenario, an opportunity where you can be your own boss. And so I just think that's a great network marketing is a great model to utilize, especially if you're starting out and you're not even sure, what direction that you might want to take. The lessons I have learned by being in this company, I would not have gotten them anywhere else. I mean, I learned a lot when I was at the university, but in terms of team development, people skills, time management skills.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me, all of that. It's an amazing professional development venture.
You're absolutely right because I have a direct sales background as well, and you couldn't be more right. There's never really been a better time, in my opinion, for people to take advantage of network marketing and direct sales because it truly can change a household.
Yes.
It really, really can. I've seen it, and it's just amazing. I love it. Well, Dr. Scott, we know that being an entrepreneur can sometimes be a roller coaster of emotions. You can be, you know that, right? We can be up today, and within the next 24 or 48 hours, we're frustrated and sometimes, ready to quit, just give it all up, So tell us real quick, if you can, how do you keep your focus and keep your end result in mind?
Right. Well, I keep a vision. It's not really a vision board, but I kind of have a vision notebook, dream book that I keep in front of me, so that I remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. And sometimes our why changes, right? It changes, but that's kind of in the forefront. So I can look at that and say, this is why, that person didn't call you back. Okay, that team member didn't do what they said they were going to do. Okay, but you keep going because behind that no, there will eventually be a yes. And so that keeps me going. The other thing is that I have been blessed to participate in a mastermind group, and I have a business coach. And so having those objective eyes and ears has been a blessing because I can, vent for a moment, but then get refocused. So that has been also very excellent. And then, sometimes I just step away. I'll go and get my nails done or whatever, and just say, okay, let me take a step back. Okay,
and that's important. That's important.
And we don't do that enough. We don't take that self-care seriously. So, so that's kind of how I do that.
Good. It's a great answer. It's great advice. Great advice. Well, because I know that you are a success stalker, Dr. Scott, I want you to. I know you kind of touched a little bit on some, a possible new project and venture that you're doing. Maybe stepping out more into motivational speaking. But, are there some other projects you're working on, or is that one of your latest projects that you're working on right now?
Okay, yes. That has been part A, I guess, of the launch, if you will. The other thing that I'm working on, I'm going to be hosting a Google Hangout next week, and the subject is, you told me that it would sell itself, and so I'm targeting business owners, primarily in direct sales, and looking at those other factors that, of course, are behind the product. So, how are you branding yourself? What are those things? How do you show up at events or things like that? So I'm excited about the Google Hangout. And then that's going to lead into a workshop in August, early August, for, again, women in business. It's women who win in life, business, and community. And so we'll be having some sessions talking about, again, how do you show up? What are some things that you need to be cognizant of as a woman in business, and go from there. So I'm excited. I'm super excited.
Great. That sounds great. And we want to make sure we get, that information, because we want to put that on your show notes page as well, on our website. Most definitely. Well, we have reached my favorite part of the interview, Dr. Scott, and that is what we call here at Success Talkers Radio the Success Round.
Okay.
And with the Success Round, what I want to do is throw some questions at you. Okay, we're going to do a little boxing for a minute.
Okay.
Go back and forth. We'll go back and forth. So, and then I want you to come back at me with some knockout answers.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right. Deal. Well, what was it that held you back from becoming an entrepreneur before you got started?
My ego. You want me to expound on that?
Yes, a little bit, yes. I do.
Okay. So when I was presented with the opportunity with Mary Kay from a good friend of mine, I looked at her like she was crazy, like, I am not a salesperson. Mary Kay is not, it's an old, non-trendy, whatever. And for God's sake, I have my PhD. What am I looking like trying to sell for Mary Kay? And so once I heard the facts and actually looked at the facts, it's a billion-dollar company, there's women of all ages and stages and places, it was kind of a no-brainer then. But that would have probably held me back if I had not taken the step to at least hear the true facts.
That's usually, it's funny you say that, because coming from direct sales myself, I've had that same answer from several people. Yeah.
But you use it, but then it becomes the leverage, because then people look at me now and they'll say, "Oh, you got a thing to be in. You're doing what?" And so it's me. I had to learn the same thing, because again, when I was learning and doing my investigations, I'm looking at medical doctors that were in direct sales. There were lawyers, judges, and so I'm thinking, okay, if it's good enough for them, certainly, it's good enough for me too.
Absolutely.
So that role model aspect, I think, is so important.
Yes, it is huge. Well, what is the best business advice you've ever received, Dr. Scott?
Oh gosh, many things. But probably the best piece of advice that I had is to never give up. It sounds cliche, but to just not give up on dreams, because it takes time. Even when you're not you may see so-called success, financial success, immediately in direct sales versus a traditional entrepreneurial effort where sometimes it takes 5 to 7 years to actually turn a profit. But just never give up, because again, if this is a dream that God has given you, He will provide the resources. And just keep in mind that your timing is not necessarily His timing, and be open to being that constructive criticism, and from people like and trust. Some people, you can have your haters out there, and you have to be able to instinctively know who you can listen to and who you don't want to listen to. But keep going. That's probably the best advice. And never give up.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, can you share one of your daily habits with us? Something that you believe that attributes to your success, something that you do on a daily basis?
I, on a daily basis, I listen to usually it's a 5 to 7 minute motivational call, business motivational call, and then I have a prayer. Well, it's not really a prayer call, but it's kind of become that, but it's not really that. We call it business church, and it's basically looking at principles in the Bible and how they apply to our business. And so I do that on a weekly basis, but daily is the motivational message. And then the other thing that I do on a daily basis is create kind of a to-do list, if you will. The night before, I try to set up six to 10 most important things to do in a day, personally and with my business, and try to.
That's important.
Yes, and try to track that and do those things first as a matter of priority. So I'm not overwhelmed with all of the things that I have going on personally with versus business and all that. So
that's great. That is great. Well, do you have an internet resource or maybe a business tool that you're currently using with your business that you could share with our listeners, or an app or something that you use maybe?
An app. Let's see. I use my Google Calendar a lot, and I love it because it syncs with everything. I'm learning some other apps that I won't say that I'm expert in that I use, but I use my Google Calendar because I can create tasks, I can create notes, and all of that on there, and it makes me feel more efficient. So I can pull up and say, oh, yes, I'm available, that type of thing. And the other thing that I've recently started using, and it kind of goes along with the Google Calendar, is a program called Time Trade. And so it gives me an opportunity to let people book, based off my Google Calendar, they can book appointments or consultations or what have you with me electronically without me even having to do anything per se, because I've set it up to where they can only book when I'm available for a certain consultation. So that Time Trade is really
Time Trade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good deal. I'm going to make sure we add that to your show notes page as well.
Okay,
good. Well, what book do you have 2 books you can recommend to our listeners?
2 books. Okay. The first one that I'm reading right now is it's called Instinct by Bishop T.D. Jakes, and that has been a really interesting book to look at just instinctively who we are and how we operate in our world, personally, business. It covers, in my mind, the gamut. So that's book number 1. The other book that I would recommend, I'm trying to think of which one do I want to. Actually, the next question, and I'll come back to it.
Okay, that's fine, no problem. Well, this is actually our last question.
Okay.
Last question. So that's fine.
Okay.
So I want you to just imagine for just a moment that you woke up in a brand new world, Dr. Scott, identical to Earth, but you knew no one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you still have all of your same experience and knowledge you currently have today. Your food is taken care of, your shelter is taken care of, but all you have is a laptop and $500. What would you do in the next 7 days?
All right. I would find the closest Starbucks. I would find the closest Starbucks to connect with people and find out what was going on in this new world and how, what they do and how I can fit in or what have you. I would, let's see, what else would I do? I'd make sure that all of my social media pages were were connected. And you know what? I think I would spend some time just walking around and seeing what was there and just asking some questions, and then from there I could get my plan, because that doesn't take a lot of money to do that. And then from there I can decide, okay, where am I going to plant my seeds in order to grow this $500 that I have. So I think that's what I would
That's
do.
good. That's great. I love this question because, and it's so funny because, like all of our guests, whenever they answer this question, it's not always exactly the same, but it's the same. And I love it because the thing is with entrepreneurs, they have to understand. There's a method for us asking that question. Let me tell you, there's a reason for it. Because when you are in business, you have to get out,
Yes.
and you have to network. You have to go and build relationships.
Yes.
With people, and you have to solve problems.
That's right.
You have to be a solution to other people's problems.
That's exactly right.
That is just like that. I love this question, and it's so funny because, I laugh on the inside because every one of our guests pretty much answers that question just like that.
That is
And
so
it lets
funny.
it lets me know that that's the key to success.
Yes. Action.
It's so key. Oh my gosh, it's so key. Wow.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Well, Dr. Scott, hearing about your journey today has truly, been inspiring. And, before we end today, if you can just do one thing for us, can you just give our listeners a parting piece of guidance and advice? And then tell them the best way they can find you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay, great. My best advice is find your own or develop your own, for lack of a better word, advisory board of directors, what have you, that believe in your vision. And then more importantly, more importantly than believing in your vision, they believe in you, and be able to have those connection calls that you need to kind of keep you focused. People who are going to tell you the truth, even though sometimes the truth may hurt. So I think that's really critical. If you are starting out, find a business coach. You may not need to pay for one immediately because you've got this board of advisors, but at some point in your world, I do believe business coaches are critical and crucial to success. And then, keep you creative. Keep yourself feeding your own mind so that you can be the creative vision. Know what you're good at and surround yourself with people who can fill in the blanks. So if you know that you're the person, and I've learned this throughout my journey, I'm the person, even in church ministry and things like that, I have figured out I like to be the person that's on the front end, the creativity, the brainstorming, the visionary, the thinking about the what ifs, the steps, all those kind of things. That's where I thrive. What I'm not, and I can thrive in that regard in detail. So I can do the details. But then where I get, for lack of a better word, stuck or unexcited is as the project is sort of moving forward. It just kind of, it's like, it's okay, so this is not fun anymore. So I'm constantly trying to keep the fun in what I do. But I know the reality is you got to have that someone to sustain. But it's knowing your place,
Absolutely.
Knowing what you're good at, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Oh, that does.
And then surround yourself with people who can complement what you may not do or do well. Because, again, as entrepreneurs, we know that we're often in positions to do everything, finances, the budgeting, the safety, the this, the that, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. So learn to delegate, and not be too much of a control freak.
Absolutely, I understand that one because that's
me. Correct. Yeah.
I used to not delegate in my previous businesses, and I'm telling you, I paid for it. Oh yes, I.
And then as far as
well, what's the best way that they can find you?
Best way to find me is probably on Facebook. Facebook, my handle is PhDFJS, so that's like Paul, Harry, Dog, Felicia, James, Scott. So PhDFJS, and you can connect with me there. I'm also on Twitter with the same handle, PhDFJS, and I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. I'm on, but not on a whole lot. But I'm on LinkedIn, same profile, PhDFJS, and Instagram as well. So that's how you can connect with me.
And you're in the Houston area,
I am in the Houston, Texas area. Yes, ma'am.
All right, good deal, good deal. Well, Dr. Scott, I know our listeners have gotten some great takeaways from you today and nuggets, and they can also find the links to everything that we've been chatting about today at successstalkers.com/Dr. Felicia Scott.
Yay!
And yay! So it'll all be there in the show notes. That's right. So, Dr. Scott, we appreciate you for being so generous with your time today, and so for that, we say thank you.
Oh, Ioana, thank you so much, and please, if I can be of any assistance to any of your listeners or what have you, please just feel free to reach out to me, and because that's what I get excited about, genuine connections and engagement. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you're so welcome, so welcome. And for everyone out there listening, thank you so much for tuning in today, and until our next episode, keep stalking success. Well, that'll do it for another episode of Success Stalkers Radio. If you'd like to hear more from these inspiring entrepreneurs and entertainers, be sure to subscribe to the Success Stalkers Radio podcast on iTunes. And if you found value in this episode, give us a review, hopefully 5 stars. You may also visit us at successstalkers.com. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.